Hello, could I have everybody's attention, please? Could I ask you to please take your seats? First, I'd like to thank everybody for coming for the celebration of life for our son Peng Mok. It's going to be a hard service, but I'm sure I'm going to hear some great stories about Peng's life, and I hope to be able to share some with you as well. So I would like to start the service off with Becky singing True Colors. And whenever you're ready, Becky, please start. Thank you. At this time, I'd also like to say a warm welcome to everybody in Edmonton and all of those people that are on Zoom that have joined our service this afternoon. And with that, I would like my wife, Peng's mother, Rhonda Reese, to come up and start with her eulogy. Rhonda?
Hi. When Peng was 5 years old, he asked me for a baby brother or a baby sister. I told him that he could have one if he would promise me 3 things. 1, I asked him, would you help me to take care of a baby brother or sister? He giggled and he said, yes. 2, would you help me to wash the diapers? Without blinking an eye, he said, yes. 3, now, would you share all your toys with your baby brother or sister? Peng hesitated. He thought about it for a moment. And then he said, no, I do not think that I need a baby brother or sister after all. However, Peng turned out to be the most caring and the most generous person you will ever get to know. His home is always open. His room is like a revolving door. Little kids in the neighborhood would ring his doorbell and ask if he could look after the frogs and salamanders while they went away on holidays. Because Peng has no siblings, his childhood friends, his elementary, junior high, high school, and university friends became his brothers and sisters, in addition to his cousins. Brian Teskey and Peng were best buddies for 40 years. And Katya, Brian's beautiful wife, embraced him into their lives. When he was headhunted for Cisco Systems here in North Carolina, his co-workers and colleagues became his next family. He loved each and every one of his friends. They were the most important and the most constant part of his life. And in return, I found out that he was well received and loved by them all. Peng was the kind of son any mother would dream about. Bright, happy, cheerful, loving, caring, and kind. And I am so blessed that he had chosen me to be his mother. Peng was the apple of his father's eyes, and he loved Peng unconditionally. Not only did they have a good, solid father and son relationship, they were each other's best friend. Credits go to Calvin Mok, Peng's father, my ex-husband, who raised him to be what he was. When Peng joined the Dexio and PECSIP, he found yet a third family. He was in seventh heaven because he had gained an expanded family. Words cannot express the depths of my gratitude and appreciation to all of you who so generously gave my son your love and your support throughout his 50 years of life on earth. I know that he is now beaming with happiness and pride that you are all here to celebrate his life with each other. I love my son, my only child, with all my heart and with my whole being. It is going to be very, very difficult for me that I would never be able to see his smile, to touch him, to hear his gentle voice, and to hear him telling me, "I love you, Mom." Peng, I am so lost without you. I love you, my son.
Hello once again. My name is Alan Reese, and I'm Peng's stepfather of 31 years. Peng and I first met back in Edmonton shortly after I met his mother, and decided a good place for us to meet was at a dinosaur exhibition that was in Edmonton. After touring the exhibition and having lunch, he said this was an appropriate place to meet. All of a sudden, I felt like a dinosaur. From that day on, we had a great relationship together. Another time, a few years later, after we met, Rhonda and I were getting our sailboat ready for our trip, and Peng came down to help us get the boat ready. Since he had just graduated with his Bachelor of Electrical Engineering, I asked him if he would take a look at the VHS radio system because the speaker in the sailboat cockpit had stopped working. He replied, "Got it." About half an hour later, I came by and he was looking at some formulas and scratching his head and saying, I can't seem to find anything wrong with this." I suggested he may want to try just running a new wire from the VHF radio below deck to the speaker in the sailboat cockpit. See if that fixed the problem. About 15 minutes later, he comes and finds me and he says, "Hey, it works now." He said, "But I don't know why." Peng always wanted to have answers for everything he did. He was always an overachiever in almost all of the things he took pleasure in doing. Peng was a great son. He was always willing to help everybody, and he was always happy. He enjoyed especially traveling and running marathons, and his greatest accomplishment was his Ironman at Wilmington Beach in 2008. Peng lived a full life, meeting many wonderful people all over the world and traveling the world, attending many different functions. Peng's biggest pleasure in life was people, traveling and eating, not necessarily in that order, and he did those with vigor and relish. I can always remember this other surprise I got from Peng. The phone rang one day and Peng said, "Hey, Dad, too. I'm going to be a flying pig." I said, "What?" He said, "I'm going to parachute from a plane." I said, "Well, that's Peng," I thought. Then he explained to me that his friend Bobby had always wanted to do that, so Peng said, "Okay." Peng's trip to India for his friend's wedding was one of the many highlights of his life. He prepared for months and turned a wedding trip into an adventure. Peng and I often discussed his work. He would tell me of some of the challenges and we would discuss solutions. Once, I offered a good suggestion. And I guess because Peng said, "Hey, that's a great idea. Maybe we should hire you." That only happened once. Rhonda and I are very proud of our son. We could not have had a better son or a more devoted son who cared so much for his mother and for myself. Peng will sorely be missed by us, and we are so sorry to see him gone. We hope where he is now is a better place and he is happy. We are sure his father, although sad, is happy to have his son at his side. Thank you all for your support at this time, and thank you for coming. At this time, I would like to pass the open mic over to Edmonton to start first. Thank you.
Yes, oh, well, other people are going to tell me online that they can. I'm absolutely amazed that there's at least 58 people from around the world all keying into this as well. So for everybody who actually is dialing in, video conferencing from abroad, thank you for attending. I believe what we'd like to do is try to start the slideshow before we start the open mic, just to recap the best of Peng. It's kind of funny. I believe we have a complement of about at least 10 electrical engineers here with us in Edmonton. How many does it take to get a slideshow working? On the good news side of things, I'm a mechanical engineer, so you can't blame me. I will proceed. There will be maybe a slideshow at the very end. My name is Victor Lin. I'm a good friend of Peng's, not his oldest friend for sure. But I'm the one that met him grade 10 high school, as well as into engineering, into university, and from then on. And for those that know me here, I'm also the one that is typically flagged as the person who lacks the embarrassment gene. So there's no problems with me starting to break the ice for the sake of the open mic. So we will start that here in Edmonton. I have actually did receive a few stories that people prefer to have somebody else tell on their behalf. There's 4 of them here. But at the same time, I'm inviting those in North Carolina, as well as here in Edmonton, that if you do have a story, please come to the mic. For those in Edmonton, I actually would like to request if you could to just sit over there so that John over there has an idea of there's somebody else, and they get to do their voodoo magic in the background to try to coordinate with North Carolina to figure out who gets to tell what story. So let me start with this one. Starts with somebody who submitted it by the name of Anonymous, and started the story like this. Peng was a traveler and a well-known international man. Didn't matter what country, what city, or what location he was in, there's a good chance that you already knew somebody there that would be all too willing to go out for dinner and go hang out. So this person, Anonymous, when they were visiting Peng, he offered to reach out to a coworker who he knew would be up for sharing dinner with them. And that coworker made absolutely sure that person felt invited and welcome. And it was the most memorable meal I had in my life. And that meal was Peking duck. Okay, I had never had this dish before. What made it so special was that Peng's coworker explained the history of the dish and explained each and every component of the dish, how nothing's wasted in that dish. Ever had it? I want to talk. We savored the meal for hours while listening to the fascinating story about the culture surrounding this iconic meal. Peng not only reached out to his international friends to share a meal, but was present for one of the best meals and dining experiences I have ever had in my life. By the way, as I read these stories, you're going to start to sense a motif here. I'm sure you will. This story was submitted by Nicole Berg. To know Peng was to know that he had a deep connection with food. Many memories posted were posted on the Facebook group page were of Peng and his friends, and of course, food. But with that said, I have two stories to share where food did not work in Peng's favor. Well, the first one is this one. Peng traveled with us to China, and we quickly discovered how different the dining experience was in China, and especially in Chinese food restaurants, than we were used to in North America. Because here in North America, we're used to, meals where the food is served with rice, right? Be a plate of rice, and on top there'd be slathered some sort of meat sauce or veggies or whatever. Absolutely. But this wasn't the case when I went to China. Because in China, rice comes at the very end of the meal. And this wasn't how Peng liked his rice. No. He liked his rice with the meal. And at first, Peng was just mildly annoyed, but as the days grew on, his ire started to worsen. What was the point of serving the rice after we're done and full? So, throughout the trip, Peng actually tried to learn variations of how do you say the word rice, whatever Chinese dialect he could pick up. And at even one point, he asked the tour guide, please translate this for me. Please bring the rice at the beginning of the meal. And of course, the staff would do this. And then still deliver the rice at the end. My husband and I were okay with not having rice on the table, but Peng, no. Peng somehow made it his mission. I'm gonna get that rice when I want it. But nope, never worked. Never got his rice until the very end of the meal every time. So, for those that know Peng, chalk this one up as one of the few times Peng was not able to pull off a miracle. But there's a second story. And the second story from Nicole was this one. Still in China, and while on such trip, Peng joined myself and my hubby on a tour of the street market filled with absolutely wonderful new foods and delicacies. The smell was so enticing. Peng was so excited, like a little kid in a candy store. He couldn't contain his glee. He was trying to, look at all the different kinds of foods I can try. He ran from kiosk to kiosk to kiosk, looking for, what are you offering? What are you offering? What are we offering? What? Here, like that. There. Nicole hung back, not as excited about food as Peng was. And she remained silent and content to just enjoy all the happiness that Peng was exuding at that moment. But not her husband. He apparently did get the memo. So while Peng was running around going through all the streets, marking all the food, keeping his list, he finally came to the end and he ran back. He said, look, I got my list. Got my list of vendors. I want to try this food, this food. All right, but we all know Peng. Peng does not try food by himself. Never. Gotta be an experience, and he's gotta drag people with him, no matter what. So, he ran over to my husband, not my husband, that was Nicole's husband, and started to spell out the list. Okay, we're gonna eat this. Ready? Let's go. Without hesitation, my husband said, very succinctly to Peng, where's the hand washing? Do they even use soap here? Nope. No thanks, Peng. I'm gonna pass. And that's when Peng's face turned into something that I'm going to try to imitate right now. Something like this. I could swear that was the moment I think I saw Peng's soul cry. I'm gonna continue to, I've got two stories left. Another one by Anonymous. We met Peng before a show outside of a theater. All of us arrived early. We decided to go to the nearby restaurant for a drink or two. We asked the order, what do you recommend? that we should try for a drink. And he ran off to search his shelves and come back with a sample bottle for each of us and claimed that this was the drink of royalty, favorite among the royals. He was very proud to share that liquor with us. And we thought, why not? The owner of the establishment hovered over our table as we took our first sips, eagerly awaiting our reaction. And with enormous amounts of talent and strength, they turned a grimace into a We acknowledged the owner saying, so good, while tears of effort started to well up in our eyes. It was the worst I have ever had in my life. It was infused with flowers and other botanical flavors. Sounds lovely, doesn't it, right? Nope, tastes like soap. Heavily perfumed soap. Each bottle was only about an ounce, just a small amount, but it took us the better part of 2 hours to get some of it down, because we didn't want to embarrass or insult the owner. But we discussed at length, quietly, without being noticed, how can we get rid of this foul mead? Maybe we could dump it. Fake plastic over decorations, or maybe we could, pour it on the napkins a little bit, or oops, accidentally spill some of it. Anything to get through this. At one point, we even asked for it to be heated. Thinking that, that might make it better. Nope, trust me, heating it made it far worse. And Peng and I, we battled to the bitter end, a struggle of willpower just to get another mouthful of soap down. But in the end, it was Peng who lost. So, in concession, Peng, the ever-brave person, he went and he distracted the owner. Misdirection. While the rest of us at the table still continued to pretend to sip while trying to find other ways to be able to make it disappear. And in the end, we all but gave up. But we were satisfied that we'd gotten through enough of the drink to have it disappear that we were not insulting the owner. And then we went to see our show. And after the show, Peng actually complained. I can still taste it on my breath. It's still coming through my nose. Any mention of that day to Peng's face, it would scrunch up in memory of that horrible, unpalatable liquor. And the final story that was submitted to me, also by Anonymous. And by the way, I really want to meet this Anonymous person. A lot of good stories. Peng was a brilliant and funny man. It was common to him to take normal phrases or words and turn them into inside jokes or platforms to tease other people. Here's one dish. We were out one night, and we came across a food kiosk that was serving hawthorn fruits. Now, I had no idea what a hawthorn fruit is, something flowery, nice. Hawthorn fruits on a stick to eat, and they looked really pretty. And I said, hey, this looks kind of cool. But we had to rush off for our event. Anyways, after the event, we walked by the kiosk again, and our friend said, hey, you mentioned hawthorn fruit? I'm gonna get one for everybody. So everybody got one. Hawthorn fruit on the stick. Now the trick was I wasn't really hungry at that point in time. And these hawthorn sticks, they're kind of sticky, kind of messy. So I wrapped mine up in wax paper and I carefully put it in my bag so I could consume it. And then I, forgot about it. Until the next day. When I went to try to open my bag and it was sealed shut. It was either the honey or the sugar or whatever it was, some point it melted. And essentially coating and gluing everything in my bag into one huge, solid, sugary mess. So for the better part of the day, while Peng and the rest of the group were out gallivanting and having fun, I was still stuck in my room, soaking and hand washing every item in my bag. And from that point forward, Peng, never one to miss an opportunity, started to use the word hawthorn. Swear word. So if you drop something by accident, he would raise his fist up and yell, hawthorn! You missed something, or screwed something up, or had a really bad day, and you just wanted to shake your head, there was Peng again. coming right beside me, whispering in my ear in decibels no smaller than anything, probably yelling, but they all did it, saying, Oscar! And many years later, he would send me a text or a message because he was having an exceptionally bad day, and it only needed to contain one word. With that, I'd like to invite, we start here? We start there? Darwin, it looks like we have a gentleman over here that would actually like to continue, and then after that, I'd like to see if North Carolina has anybody that would like to say a few words.
So I knew Peng for 2000. This is a year before Google was Google and before Facebook was Facebook. And I knew him, or his name rather, from high school. And I went to the same high school, same nerdy international baccalaureate. Some of you might know that, the super nerdy program. And we never overlapped. When I started, he just finished his valedictorian. But his name, it's famous, was like legendary. The teachers talked about his name like almost in hushed tones, like, oh, this Peng Mok guy. And we always wondered who he was because he had this legendary sort of aura around him. And so I went to university. First year in engineering, and it's a pretty hard program. And I was studying, and there was a bunch of us nerds. And one of my friends, Brad, came up to me. He said, Darwin, you're not gonna believe this. I said, what? He said, some effing genius has dropped off all of his assignments with the Engineering Student Society. I was like, what are you talking about? So we went to the Engineering Student Society, and sure enough, Peng had dropped off all of his midterms and all of his assignments, all marked with pretty much all the right answers. And to us, it was like, to the IB nerds, it was like, ah! To the Asians, it was like, ah! And it was amazing because you had fully worked out problems, the solutions all right there in front of you. But what really struck me was not so much only what he'd done, but you could tell by what he'd written, he had a different way of thinking. And that always impressed me. And there was once I remember I'd forgotten to pick up one of the midterms. So you'd go to the Engineering Society and you'd pay a few bucks, they'd make you a photocopy and just help you to study. And so I'd forgotten to grab one. And I called my friend Brad and I said, I forgot to pick up one of Peng's midterms. Can you send it to me? He goes, and this is when he became legend to us. He said, no mocking problem. Like Google became a word. It was like his name became an adjective. And that's when, for us, he became the real living legend. And shortly after that, I went to TR Labs. It's like a research laboratory for electrical engineering. That was my first job, and I was working on a problem and couldn't get through it. And I found out that someone named Peng Mok was also at TR Labs in his 4th year, and it's my first. So I still remember going to the computer and typing in his name into the email, asking him for help. Like it was like reaching out to like Wayne Gretzky if you're a hockey player. It was like, this is Peng Mok. He's in the same building. And Peng didn't reply. He came down to my cubicle and explained in a half hour better than what I couldn't learn in the previous class for 4 months. It's amazing. And as I take a step back, I think, I've been in IT now for over 20 years, and I can confidently say, I don't think I ever ran into anyone quite with that mix of just that amazing ability to think, but just how he could communicate. And he was so gracious and so generous, and I'll never forget it. And I'll always be mocking grateful. Thank you.
Hello. I met Peng in 2002. I'd been moved to DSP Sustaining, and I guess I was his fellow nerd, his female counterpart. I love nothing more than digging through code and saying, aha, it's right there. I bet you if you test it, it's right there, you know. So he pinged me one day, and he said, I think I see this problem with the DSP. I said, cool, I'm on it. Of course, he'd already reproduced it. And that started a relationship unlike any I've ever had before. I moved to work with Bud Carl. Bud Carl was in charge of Voice over IP Sustaining at the time. Anytime there was a very sensitive case, it was get Peng Mok, Brian Deaver, and Stacy Shepard. After a while, it ended up being Peng and I, because Brian went on a break. We had each other's back. We were in the trenches. There's nothing like working with someone that you know so well and they know you so well, and you just cover each other. We could be on the phone with the customer and we're chatting in the background, and we just knew what each other should say. If he needed something, he needed to know something, I knew it was coming, typed it into his chat box. He knew I was walking into a corner, typed it into my chat box. I came to visit him because my ex now was going to be at the beach in North Carolina that weekend. So I spent a week with Peng working from RTP. And he actually took me to see Duke Gardens. And it's not that I'm so naive, it's just that I trusted Peng. He told me he needed to show me these birds, because I'm a bird lady. He had to show me these birds, that the wild turkeys would mate with the ducks at Duke Gardens and make turduckens. Now, I'm not a cook. And he had me going on a turducken for about a year before he cracked. Seriously, though, I just can't describe it. We talked every day, we chatted every day, and the last 3 or 4 months, we still chatted every night. He was one of the best friends I ever had. He's going to be one I'll see on the other side. I just can't say. He was like my brother, my best friend, my confidant, and I'll miss him like I'll miss no one else.
That's why I wrote it, Wes. Just like everybody else here, I'm here to celebrate Peng's life. You know, some of us have a hard time. I personally am having a hard time still fully processing that he isn't here with us. It's just, it's kind of surreal. And it just feels so unusual because when you look at the things in life that are steady, he was one of them for a lot of us. And like everyone else, I have a lot of fond memories of Peng. Peng and I met through Cisco, a lot of us did, where we were teammates. And he was very interested that I was in the Marines, and also so was George, our good friend. And I likened our time on that team to being in the infantry in combat. Stacy could probably tell you how bad things were back then. Wes can also. Anybody who worked on that stuff, it was rough. So we spent a lot of time working together. It was very busy. It was hard work and long hours that we spent together. And we became really good friends, kind of like combat brothers or something. Peng worked very hard and set a good North Star for anybody to follow. I learned a lot of good things from him, from the importance of doing your own research, learning things for yourself, to just being very detailed. And he was all of those things. Peng was very detailed to the nth degree. And he used to make Marty and some of these other folks here that were on our escalation team chuckle, because we'd be in these team meetings and somebody would mention a problem and he would just rattle off a defect, like verbatim memorized things. I mean, it was just incredible. And they'd be over there just like, check him out, man, he's doing it again. and it was effortless and incredibly accurate. And so a good word to describe Peng was intelligent. In our downtime, we would talk about, simple things, music. Me, I was the metal guy. You guys all know that. Peng, he was more alternative, but he would listen to anything. And we'd talk about the military. We'd talk about, his life in Canada, his friends, his family, everything that was on the table with him. And truthfully, I was always quite impressed, with his knowledge of everything from pop culture, current world affairs, and pretty much anything. Peng knew it. We spent a lot of times just having fun, engaging conversations. And a good word to describe Peng was engaging. He was also truly cared about people, and I'm sure you heard that. He would always ask about my family, my wife, Allison, my son, Josh, how he's doing in school, how he's doing in hockey and stuff. And he would always take time to entertain my daughter, who was very young at the time, and she was quite precocious, Jessie. And he would always make sure to buy a ton of Girl Scout cookies from her whenever she came into the office. He was a very good customer. And it was, not just to be kind, but it was about supporting people. He was a difference maker, and he touched a lot of people's lives in a meaningful and genuine way. And that's a good way to describe Peng, is genuine. Finally, Peng's life was always full of colorful, funny stories. I'm sure you guys have heard a few. We've got some of our own. Like using his, one of my favorites was using his eco-friendly goat solution to clear out his backyard. I'm sure some of you folks saw the video. It was humorous because I thought it was a good to go super smart way, and some people got upset about it, that they had goats in their backyard. I guess they were a little too hoity-toity. Or his not haggling with his neighbors when he did a yard sale. That was a pretty humorous story of the collisions of cultures. It was pretty funny. But he was he had quite a social circle, as you folks are starting to see. Through his never-ending social engagements, his training for marathons and Ironmans. I always told Peng that he was a better Marine than me because he went out and ran the Marine Corps Marathon. I never even started to train for it. That's a little out of my league. Anyway, I guess Peng's incredible ability just to spend meaningful time with everyone is what attracted everybody to him. And he was friends with everybody that he met. He had a way of making you feel as if you were the most important person, thing, or whatever in the world at that moment. And that was a great word to describe Peng, friend. I'm sure everyone will have similar stories and reflections about him. Peng was always been an intelligent, engaging, genuine friend, and just plain old good dude. And I'll always remember him that way, and he'll always be with me, and hopefully with everybody else.
Thanks, Chris. Try this again. My name's Wes. I met Peng at Cisco in 2000. Beach to battleship. My version of that started somewhere along the lines of, Hey, you're my one friend who might be crazy enough to say yes. And then began a 20-year adventure. Back in the days of DSP where Peng was thorough. If you knew Peng, he was thorough. On Friday evenings, wrapping things up, he and I had a standing pool date. We had a pool table in Building 1. We would meet in the pool room and shoot some stick, wrapping up the days, doing cap calls with California, making sure the world came in for a soft landing. That was Peng. One time, Peng and I were selected for performance awards together. We were discussing how to celebrate. Peng said, with our friends. So in a world flush with cheap calories and pizza, we hosted a feast for Building 1. That day, Peng's friends ate well. Peng Fong Mok, PFM, pure freaking magic. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Keith. Most of you that know me know I normally don't do this, but Peng would, so I will. I met Peng in, I guess, 2002. Joined a team with him in Cisco and TAC, supporting voice, and Peng was one of the escalation engineers for voice over IP, so coming in new into the technology, obviously that's a very smart person that you want to get to know, but it wasn't just that he was smart, that he was giving. And like we continually hear all these stories about everyone feeling so close to Peng and Peng making these real relationships with everyone that he interacted with. And that was my experience as well. We did a lot of things outside of just working on cases. We'd go play darts to try to relieve some stress from the technical headaches, and we would run around the loop by Cisco or walk around the loop talking about life. And when we were working, we always knew that Peng was there, even if he wasn't there to help us out. I specifically remember a Memorial Day, and we were working and we were getting crushed, and I get this message from Peng, say, hey, I'm looking at this case, and helping us out with it. And it was a very Peng thing to do, giving up his time for other people. So there, looking back, thinking about Peng and our interactions, others' interactions with him, there were a couple things that stood out to me, and that's one, is that he always gave more than he took. And that applied to everything. That applied to friendships. That applied to work. It applied to everything that he did. He always gave more than he took. The other part of that is, as we would go around running, I remember one time we ran across a little green snake on the path, and so we automatically assumed that was our friend and caught it and brought it back in to go to training with us in Building 1. Probably wouldn't be a very welcome thing today, but that's what we did. I was the one that got him into the marathons. He was riding bikes and we were running together, and I said, hey, Ping, how would you like to do the Marine Corps Marathon? I don't know if I'll be able to do it, but I'm thinking about trying it, and just like Ping, why not? So we would go out on these runs, and we would encounter whatever, something crawling across a path, or it was just those times that we spent together in these little things that might not mean much to somebody, but it always meant a lot to us. It always meant a lot to Ping. And that was the second thing, is he always enjoyed the little things. And those are a couple things I hope I can take from him personally. Thank you.
See if I can do this. My name's Chester Riemann. I work with Peng from 2000 at Cisco. We spent a good few years in the trenches, like everybody relates. It was like warfare sometimes. I can't really remember the first time we met. I just remember the first couple months working together. We'd finish each other's jokes and really kind of on the same plane. We'd really always bitch about the crazy customer calls, put them on mute, and we'd say, "What's this guy trying to do?" And we'd joke with each other about some of the stuff that people would do with Cisco equipment. And then after a while, it got to the point we didn't even have to say anything. I would look over in Peng's cube, and he would just raise his eyebrow, and you could tell he was dealing with something out of bounds, but he still dealt with it. And I call it tenacious Peng. He would not let go when he found a problem. He wanted to know everything that happened with it and documented it thoroughly. He was a special person. He was such a great engineer, and of course you stole my story in case review where he would just spit up bug IDs. I was like, man, that's another level. Peng was there. The human being side of Peng was equally impressive. He went out of his way to make connections, as evidenced by all his friends here and his many outings on Facebook. I traveled and adventured vicariously through Peng. I'll miss that. We both lamented about our dads. They were both engineers, and we'd talk on Father's Day most years and just, talk about stuff and how he was feeling. I know his dad meant a great deal to him. I'm a kind of moody person, and he put up with my boorish behavior many times and me being in bad moods and everything else, and still would call me and reach out. We would do walks around the neighborhood. When I moved back to RTP, I was really glad. He was living in the same house. He didn't really like walking with my dog. It ruined his pace. But we were. It was good to see him. We'd see him walking in the neighborhood every once in a while, and I'd get together and we'd say hello. And I'm going to attempt to go by Peng's example and venture out when in doubt, to be up for anything, to be kind, and reach out to people and just keep connections, which I'm not really good at, but I'm going to try and do it. And I'll miss him.
Can folks hear me? Yeah. Good.
I don't know what the cue is for this. So my name is Mary, and I met Peng in 2008 in a pool training for a beach-to-battleship. And he became one of my best friends all those many years. Like everybody else, he touched my life, and he lived his life to the fullest. And we spoke almost every day, several times a week. And his friendship was quite special, and I don't know that I've ever met anybody in the world like Peng. He was the most multifaceted, versatile person that I could dress up and take anywhere, or dress down and take anywhere. And someone asked me how we would honor him. Excuse me, going forward. And to what his friend just said, to exhibit more of the qualities that he had in reaching out to people, putting himself out there, and relishing those friendships that he did so well. Thanks.
My name is Uli. I had always hoped to meet so many of Peng's good friends at his big 50th birthday bash that he was talking about, and unfortunately never happened. And now I have to meet all of you this way, which is extremely hard. I have many similar stories like the ones we've heard from today. I met Peng during a difficult time in my life only a year ago, and he was always so full of life, so supportive, up for anything. He got me out of a slump, and I always had hoped that I could return the favor. He took me on kayaking trips, hiking, all the things I could do at the time. We went on a zip lining trip that was very difficult for me, and I always said, hey, today wasn't my best day, but we'll do it again when I feel better. He had gotten tickets for a hot air balloon ride, and due to weather, it was postponed. So we went on wineries, food trucks, so many memories in just 1 year. It's unbelievable. I don't think I have anybody else in my circle of friends that gave me so many memories, so many things to do. He left no stone unturned. As somebody said, he was always up for that next adventure, looking for something fun to do. Every turn was interesting to him. About a year ago, we went to see Alanis Morissette. I don't think I had even heard of her. She was a Canadian artist. He loved her, and we had a fabulous time together. And I had hoped it was the first of many concerts together. He got us tickets in March, not that long ago, for Ronnie Cheng, a comedian from Singapore. And once my health was improving, we were going to play tennis. We had so many plans, and I cannot believe that he is gone. We had so much more to do. He had so much more to give. He was an incredibly generous person. We would go on a hike, and anybody else would say hi, and Peng would stop and have a 10-minute conversation, make new friends. So he was really unbelievable in his ability to connect with anybody, and anywhere, anybody, the waitress on a hike. Peng was always listening, trying to make me feel better, even as he was going through a very hard time, and for that I'll always be grateful. Peng, I hope you are in peace where you are. I hope you're smiling down on us. And give us the thumbs up to keep going, enjoying life, living every minute to the fullest. Thank you.
I had to sneak on here. It's difficult to time it with our folks here in Raleigh, but I'll do my best. Thank you all for coming today. My name's Michael Reese, and I'm Peng's younger brother. And thank you all for coming both in person and virtually to celebrate Peng Mok's life. Some of you have traveled distances, taken time out of your lives, and spent a significant amount of time preparing for today's celebration. And for that, I'm very thankful. In particular, I'd like to thank Katya, Brian, Victor, and all those in Raleigh that helped prepare the services for today. I had some service serving my parents in Raleigh for the last 2 weeks to help services get set up over there, and I can only appreciate how much work and effort had to get put into also setting up today's service here in Edmonton. So I'd just like to thank everyone for their efforts. It's a lot of work that makes something like today happen. As I mentioned, I am Peng's younger brother, and I've been Peng's brother for almost 30 years now, and our parents are Alan and Rhonda Rees. Growing up, our friends would often mistake Peng and I for one another. Our physical features were almost identical. Our interests and hobbies, friends, school, teachers, family, even girlfriends were always challenged to tell Peng and I apart. Fortunately, Alan and Rhonda and a few other close family members could distinguish Peng and I, mostly by Peng's slightly darker hair color and later on by his eyeglasses. As I reflect back, I suppose parents have a knack for being able to tell their children apart. I know this has served me well firsthand, as I have 2 identical twin boys, and as a parent I can use that to help me as well. I'm glad I was able to kind of solicit a laugh from all of you today. I thought we could all use a bit of a laugh, as this is a celebration of life after all, and Peng would want us smiling and enjoying one another today. As you probably guessed, Peng and I were in fact stepbrothers, separated by 6 years of age. And like many families today, ours was a blended family that was created by the marriage of Alan and Rhonda. And I've had the privilege of having Peng be part of my life for almost 3 decades. I can recount many memories with Peng, like sailing together with our parents in Florida, Christmases together, running marathons, late-night games of mahjong. Much like all of you, I have so many special moments and fond memories with Peng, as do my wife and children that are here today. The list of which is large and far too long to cover today. Peng was an extraordinary person. His adventurous spirit and curious nature were only surpassed by his love of people and generosity. He was truly a people person, making all of us feel special and loved. Peng always had time for the people in his life and cats, and he cherished all aspects of life and every moment that he could spend with each and every one of us. As I attempted to write today's eulogy, much of what I wrote seemed inadequate. Trying to put words to a person's life was a daunting task, made further difficult by the enormity of Peng's jam-packed, fun-filled, and beautiful life. So to maintain some brevity to this speech, I'll leave you with a quote that I feel speaks to Peng's life. And for those of you in Raleigh, North Carolina that have some roots in the United States, you may recognize this author. In the end, it's not the years in your life that count, it's the life in your years. The author was Abraham Lincoln, and Peng Mok truly lived more than some people do in 3 lifetimes. My brother will be forever missed, and I'm thankful for everything he has given me during our time together. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'll miss you, Peng.
Okay. And my name is Victor Lin, and I'm just going to keep the ball rolling here. This is a celebration of life. So I have a feeling we would be remiss if we didn't kind of poke a little fun at Peng. Well, a lot of teary stories, but there's a lot of stuff about Peng that, let's be honest, he was quirky, right? You don't meet people like Peng all the day, and sometimes there's a reason you don't meet people like that all the day. So there's 3 things I really wanted to bring attention to. If somebody has the answer, please tell me. Facebook group, put it there. I really figured them out myself. Number 1, How could somebody be permanently stuck in the 1970s and keep calling everybody man? Right? Hey man, how's it going? I haven't seen you for a while. Really good. Oh, that's really awesome, man. Just awesome. Keep doing that. Never figured it out. Don't even know her name. Kept doing it forever. Number two was something that was reminded of by somebody on the Facebook group page. That it was impossible not to like Peng. I mean, have you ever met anybody that said, I don't like that guy? Really? Ever? Because really, like, can you think of anybody more humble than Peng? I only just found this out recently. I just got the sheet of paper sent to me. And it is a list of all of Peng's awards and scholarships and bursaries. This list was at least 25 line items long. Do you think I knew about 2 of them? Yeah, I think I knew 2. And he never shared them. He never told them. He did tell me, though, that when I said, hey, you getting a summer job? He's like, nope, I'm good. Don't have to do it. Not telling you why, but I'm good. Now I know why. But at the same time, he had this self-deprecating way of making you feel at ease. As a student in high school and in university, he would never, ever came to me and went, Vic, you're wrong. Nope, never. This is when, Q would start with, I don't know, man. What a liar. He knew. He totally knew. He totally knew, but he was behaving, mindful of my feelings, right? How many of you guys, were you there during his sniffing paint phase, right? He's like, must be me sniffing paint, but maybe this is the way to do things. That's how he started. Really made me wonder if he actually really was sniffing paint, but probably not. But the third thing I want to bring up was something that just blew my mind. And this was at a very painful period in his life. His father had passed. He now was the owner of the house in Edmonton, and his life was in North Carolina. So he had to come here, and he had to take care and deal with the house, which ultimately meant cleaning it up and putting it for sale. And this is when he was in Edmonton, and we invited him, my wife Linda and I, we invited him over for dinner, and how are you doing, that kind of stuff. And he said, okay, Vic, guess what I did? I want the next owner of this house to know how much it was loved, how much it was lived. And so he wrote, apparently, this story. Peng, it'd probably be an essay, right? And it was all about his life, how he grew up in here, his family, his dad's experiments, his dad's patents, his pet turtle, every video game he probably played. And he probably documented this all up, and he said, guess what I did? I want to make sure the next person knows how much went on in this house. So I got a QR code, and I hid it in the basement. So now, when somebody goes in there and they go like, what the hell's a QR code doing in here? They pull out the phone and go, beep, and they get the story of Peng Mok and his family and how they lived in that household. He left the QR code in there. And I remember when I told him at dinner that night, I'm like, I would think if you want to play a practical joke, it's more funny to dig up the foundation, bury a plastic skeleton, put concrete over top, and go, yee, let's see what happens when they find it next. But no, but it's QR code. Which now just makes me really curious. One day, I hope, because I know some people here in Edmonton were actually part of that, maybe actually have that QR code. If you do, I would love it if you could scan it or give me the scan code so I can actually finally read the story, because I never did. Because that was Peng. His subtle way of sharing himself with the world.
Hi, my name is Suzanne Yong. and I'm Peng's cousin. I was in disbelief when I heard the news about Peng, and my heart broke. We had spent a large part of our childhood, particularly the elementary school years, together. When my family immigrated to Canada, Auntie Rhonda and Uncle Kelvin graciously let us stay with them until we got our own apartment. Since we lived in the same complex in Petrolia, the three of us, Peng, Mark, and I, would walk to Greenfield Elementary School together. Inevitably, it would take us a lot longer to get home, as we would all stop off at the convenience store to pick up some treats for ourselves at Petrolia Mall. Beside the convenience store was the arcade, where Mark and Peng would spend many hours and quarters playing video games. Other times, we would engage in snowball fights with other kids also on their way home. It was the Asian cousins against everybody else. I can't tell you who won, but I can say that I always went home with wet mittens. Even as we grew into adulthood, Peng never lost his touch to always make any event into an adventure. I will always remember the time when his dad and a group of friends booked about a dozen canoes for a trip down the North Saskatchewan River from Voyager Park in Devon to Sir Wilfrid Laurier Park. Peng and I chose to partner up in a canoe. So there we were, basking in the sun, gently gliding down the river in our life jackets and with our lunches. He pointed out the sedimentary cliff banks as we slowly meandered down the 30 kilometers towards Edmonton. Just as our group decided to stop off for lunch along the bank, we ended up in the water as our canoe capsized. To this day, I'm not sure how that happened, but I have a feeling that someone decided to lean over to check out something in the water. I'm sure from that day, my immune system was strengthened after several gulps of water from the river. Peng, if you can hear this, thank you for sharing your love, generous spirit, positive attitude, and not least, your mischievous sense of adventure. I will miss hearing all about your trips to far and wide places. And on behalf of the Mok, Tang, and Yang families, we celebrate you in the remarkable ways you have touched us. Not just today, but always. I am blessed to be your cousin.
Hi, my name is Clem, and I'm Suzanne's husband. I think Peng's cousin-in-law. I'll always remember Peng for being larger than life. Not only was he literally a good 1.5 feet taller than me, and probably have shoulders twice as big as mine, but his spirit and personality were truly as bright and radiant as the sun. He'd always greet me with a big smile, and when we met in person, he'd give me the iron grip handshake or the grizzly bear hug. He seemed to be the ever-optimist, giving me words of encouragement when I'm having problems, and shrugging off issues of his own to persevere, accomplishing whatever he was focused on at that time. Peng was and will continue to be an inspiration to me. He seemed to be always trying new things or going to wonderful places around the world. I couldn't believe my ears when he told me that he was doing a triathlon, and then eventually the Ironman. So I don't know how many of us would have the courage to put in the training, let alone endure the race. And especially the swimming part of it where, and I've watched Ironmans, where people are thrashing around in the water, like I'd be afraid to get head to water. But Peng, that was truly inspiring to me. But what I will truly remember about Peng is his caring and his kindness. I'm not sure how he found the time in his busy schedule to always remember to write letters, to send cards, or to pick up the phone calls. And he was always so thoughtful. For one of our kids' earlier Christmases, he sent stockings that were personalized with their names. And every single year since then, we would bring them out at Christmas to celebrate Peng Fong. My one regret is that I never took up Peng's offer to go visit him in his North Carolina habitat and see Starbucks. However, I am very, very grateful, Peng, for the time that we've had to spend together, and we will miss you.
Hi, I'm Becky. Peng was in the business of making people happy and spreading joy, witnessed by so many of you already today. Unfortunately, although I only knew him for a relatively short period of time, because we'd met during the pandemic, somehow, even under those circumstances, I felt that he and I managed to become fast friends. And so what I'd like to do is share just one little story as an example, although there are countless others that we each individually have and you all have already shared, and that I also have. I'm going to give you a little snippet here, and I'll try to move through it as quickly as I can. Thank you for your patience. Peng once told me that I was among those rare people to whom he could text a weird photo of such things as a live snake or a frog or a lizard or a turtle or some other intriguing and even bizarre creature who would not be weirded out by it. And I, in turn, would reciprocate because I loved that kind of thing, too. The bug man, right? We all know that was a nickname for him. However, sometimes the photos of food, those could get a little strange and kind of gross. He would text me photos of food, and they were sometimes a little bit bizarre. Like Victor said, he was quirky, and he was geeky and nerdy, and that was part of his wonderful charm, you know? Anyway, imagine my delight when I had the opportunity to take Peng to the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences on October 13th, 2021 for his 50th birthday. I wanted to surprise him with something special. Since the pandemic had thwarted his plans to celebrate this milestone in other ways, including by taking a trip to Japan with his friends. I know that he was so giving of his time, even at that point, making arrangements to see so many of his friends when he could, but it was during a pandemic, so things had to be, orchestrated carefully. But I was very fortunate to be among one of those people. So we geeked out together. I surprised him, and we geeked out together at the museum over lots of characters, reptiles, amphibians, dinosaurs, to name a few. And Peng was so joyful and so happy. The little boy in him was having a field day. It was a day I will never forget. And also, I want to say if I may add, to Katya, and I believe it was Katya and some of his friends from Canada, and you all here in North Carolina can help me fill in the gaps. That morning when I picked him up to whisk him away for his birthday, I told him we were doing something, but I didn't tell him what it was. When I got to his house, there was this fantastic thing on his lawn, and that happy 50th Peng. It was like you could see it from down the street in the neighborhood. It was incredible, and one of those things they put it on your lawn and you pick it up and then you can take it back. And I knocked on the door, and I assumed he'd seen it. When he came to the door, kind of still early in the morning and groggy, it was like really early, it was like 8:30. Anyway, I said, "Have you seen this?" I said, "This is really cool. What you? Yeah, I didn't know who done it for him, and he hadn't even seen it, and so he was blown away by that. So thank you again. I got to witness it firsthand in person, him being so moved by that. It was an amazing start to an amazing day. And so what I basically want to close with, in the reason that I share this story with you, is not to illustrate what I did for Peng, but once again, like on so many other occasions, and as I'm sure you all know, to illustrate what Peng did for me. What came out of sharing that experience with him. It was how he made me feel, not only about him and about the experience, but how he made me feel about me. He was so good at making people feel good about themselves. And that's a big part of what it is to be a wonderful human being. And that was Peng. So thank you, Peng, for sharing your joy and for sharing your true colors. I love you and I miss you. Thank you.
Anybody that knows me, technical, I was a complete opposite. I'm Brian Teskey. Most of us, or some of you know who I am, like brothers. We first got to know each other through a snowball fight back in junior high. Imagine, I don't know anybody, especially in the States, got into a snowball fight with him, but obviously everybody else got into a snowball fight with him here. And actually, these are my favorite photographs of his. If you ever got into a snowball fight with Peng, this picture over here, I called it the Fred Flintstone picture. It was like, whose baby is that? No, I'll buy that. I don't remember that. But when he would actually give you that look when he was in a snowball fight with you, that means he was actually taking Alberta snow, which if you're not familiar with, is just complete powder and does not actually stick together. He could actually form it into an ice ball within seconds. And when he actually gave you that look, you knew that it was directed at you and he'd be breaking some skin. So we do go back far. There is one person out there that I recognize has known him longer than myself. Sorry, I'm going to try to keep it together here too. So yes, we knew each other back in junior high. Back there was elementary, and there's a possibility that we did know each other in elementary too. First year that he was in Mill Woods, he went to Dakota, and we did talk a few times on that, and I said, there was this one smart Asian guy in front of me that was good at math, and he's like, I'm gonna have to narrow that down. I don't know if that was really me. So, we went back quite a bit. As Victor was saying about that barcode thing or whatever, there's actually 3 inside the house. There's one in the attic, one under the stairs, and another one in the basement. When his dad did pass away, I helped clean his house out, and he lived in my basement for 3 months, where he actually became unemployed also. And I had to recommend, we did talk, he felt quite badly about leaving his dad in the city here. I wasn't sure if he was a good son about that. So we did talk a lot about stuff like that, and did feel that he was letting his father down. So I'm actually the one that recommended that he actually puts those, whatever, I'll just call them barcodes. Yeah, something like that. So no, we went back. When we were in elementary, in junior high, high school, he would actually come to our house and play pool. That's when he started playing pool, playing also darts. So once again, Peng would just give you that look when he was playing darts, and he would actually nail everything. He was a fairly weak pool player and dart player at the time. Eventually, he developed to the point where he actually crushed me frequently. Oh, okay. Well, the Americans have a smaller picture of it. I'm not saying anything about the Americans. Unfortunately, the other engineer seems to not be in the room. But no, we would actually do all sorts of things together. I'm going to try to keep it short because we have 40 years together. But he was always up to try just about anything. So when I lived in Vancouver, he actually visited me out down there, and we actually went down to Seattle a few times, which we both loved, and at that time it was a great city. And we decided we're going to find the most disgusting hotel you could find. So we found one on Pioneer Square, if you're familiar with the area. And we walked in there, there's people sleeping in the hallways. It was pretty scary. And once we actually went into the room, we almost pulled the whole wall down. It was like paper. But so we actually sat in the room and we looked at each other. It's like, I think we're both about to die. So we were going to actually stay there the night. And then he opened one of the drawers, and him coming from a warmer place than Canada, he recognized all the different eggs that were in the drawers. So he's like, I think we should leave. So we didn't go back to our deposit or anything, but we just picked up and left. And we did all sorts of stuff like that. We enjoyed looking for trouble, causing a lot of issues. So we used to go hiking, and instead of just sticking to the path, we'd actually go through the unbeaten path. And we did all sorts of stuff like that. But haven't seen a lot of stuff. We did travel a lot together. My wife, a dear friend, we actually talked to him pretty much every day, which is a little difficult. But if I wasn't busy at work, I would actually text him to phone me at work. He had my 1-800 number, and it would be a race between Katja and myself to see who would actually get to him first. So we talked to him about 45 minutes to an hour each every day, and so that's a little difficult. But he was the person that was never afraid to try anything, and we did a lot of stuff together. Not going to get into all this stuff, going forever, and I'm not putting up to terribly well. But yeah, I got a lot of stuff to say, but I'm not going to say it. A lot of it is not politically correct either. So, no, we were actually looking to go down to Panama with him this year, but he didn't think he was up for it. And I said, doesn't matter what kind of condition you're in, just come down there and we'll figure things out. So, I am considered quite fortunate. His mother was, we were one of the first people that he did contact, said that we were like brothers. So, I'll leave it at that. Thanks. And,
I'm normally a very private person, but I've learned so much from Peng that I have to try for him.
I want to thank him for sharing all of you with him, with me. I'd like to thank everyone for helping Peng learn to be such an amazing dart player, pool player, tennis player, golf player. He has proceeded to kick my ass in every single one of those. He felt so bad for me one time at tennis that as a gift to me on my 30th birthday, he surprised me. We went out to the tennis court. He had a tennis pro waiting for me. No matter how good I got, Peng was still better. About a week later, he was kicking my ass even harder. And to prove a point, he had received a work call during that tennis match. I took pause and refused to serve. He waved at me. Tennis racket, cell phone. He still won that game. The one thing I can say about Peng is, when was the last time you did something for the first time? So many times I've been afraid to do something, and he was there. And I want to thank him for that, and remember more than anything that his legacy will live on in us. And I remember every time I get scared or feel that I will fail and unable to do it, that he's right there prodding me to continue going on and to never give up. And it's okay to fail. We pick ourselves back up and we try again. Like true engineers and true humans, we are subject to making mistakes, but we're also within our power to correct them and to be better. And I thank Peng so very, very much for being both my friend and my mentor, but also my big brother that I never had, and he taught me that it's okay. I'll be fine. Thank you so very much. I love you.
Before I pass the mic back over to Edmonton, I'll share one last story with you. Last year was my 80th birthday. And Peng was actually planning on coming up to Canada for a visit, but we talked about COVID, the risk of flying up, the risk of getting stuck in Canada and not being able to get back down to Raleigh to go to work, and that he shouldn't come. And he argued with me about that, and we discussed it, and we talked about it, and he finally agreed not to come. So my birthday came, and my wife, Rhonda, got me into the car and said, we're heading out to have dinner at this restaurant for your birthday. So I said, oh, that's fine. So we got to this restaurant, and she said, you can't drive that way, you have to drive around this way. And I said, well, why? I mean, there's the front of the restaurant, you can see the big floor-to-ceiling windows. Why couldn't you go that way? She said, no, you got to go this way because that's where the front door is. Okay, I said, so I drove the car around that way, parked it. We walked into the restaurant, and the first thing I see is my son, Michael. And he's sort of standing at the entrance there, and so, okay, I guess some of the family's there too. So then they took us down this hallway, and we walked into a room. And I turned to Rhonda and I said, isn't that Peng over there? It was. And yes, he came. And yes, he got stuck in Canada. Yes, it cost him an extra $1,000 to get back home. But he was there for my birthday. I love you, Peng. You were the greatest person in the world. And with that, if there's no one else who would like to speak here, I would like to turn the mic over to Edmonton for some final remarks. Thank you.
So under the assumption that we here in Edmonton also, we're good for stories as well. What we'd like to do is actually just, we'd like to turn on the slideshow before we go to closing, because the slideshow has been put together just to summarize how special Peng was to a great number of people. it's just water. We're in a church, of course. So I'm actually deeply honored to be asked to do today's closing remarks. First thing I want to do is thank everyone, both here in Edmonton as well as in North Carolina. Thank you for all who have shared your stories of pain with us today. To close, I would like to attempt to try to summarize pain with something that I'd like to call the Zen of pain. So, what is this Zen of pain that I speak of? Well, over the decades that I've known him, Peng has helped me realize 4 gifts of life. And if we're going to remember him, I personally will always remember these 4 gifts of life that I take into heart and will continue to truly appreciate as I continue forward from this day on. And these 4 gifts were offered completely freely by Peng to everyone he came across. So if you're online, kind of see your faces. If you're in North Carolina as well as in Edmonton, I will ask you, feel free to nod your head or quietly raise your hand to confirm if Peng had similarly touched you with any of these 4 gifts of life. Number 1 is the gift of food. To Peng, food was a conduit through which he, through the sharing of a meal, he could, well, it would provide nourishment, be a source of tasty, be a source of adventure. Tasty and sometimes not so tasty. It was a way to generate camaraderie. And it was absolutely a wonderful way to provide all-round merriment and amusement. Use it wisely. Number 2 is the gift of sharing. Be helpful. Be kind. Be considerate. And above all else, like Peng did, be generous of yourself to others. The third one is the gift of wonder. It could be Star Trek. It could be Battlestar Galactica. It could be Star Wars. It could be all about traveling to different parts of the world. It could be about meeting strange new people. I fall in that category. Or finding peace and happiness with a turtle or a cat. Truly, take the time to explore the wonder of the world around you and choose to be daring, adventurous, and every once in a while, feel free to be a little crazy, just a little. But the fourth and the final gift of life that he demonstrated and showed me was the gift of awesome. Summarized by these words of wisdom he gave to me one day. And he said, "Hey man, I don't know. I gotta be me. You've got to be you. And you are not me. So you go out and be who you were meant to be and be awesome at it. Just be awesome at it, man." And that is the Zen of Peng. So, as my final words, here's to you, Mr. Peng Fong Mok. Stay awesome, man. Stay awesome. And with that, I'm asking Katia to please come up and final words of thanks.
Thanks. I'm Katya Teskey, I'm Brian's wife, and I met Peng through Brian, of course, and Peng became a huge part in our life, but it is still very, very hard to believe that he's gone. What Victor just shared, I think, described Peng to a T. In the week since Peng left us, I have met so many new people from all around the world. I had long conversations with people that were complete strangers to me before, and we shared hugs, virtual ones and actual ones. We shared a lot of tears. And more than once have I actually heard the phrase that Peng always wanted us to meet because he felt we would have so much in common. And so Peng, well done. Even in death, you're still networking and you're still connecting people. And with that sentiment in mind, I would like to conclude the celebration of Peng's life. Thank you to PEXIP and Cisco Systems for the technical support of this combined service, especially Jordan Owens and Brian Condi at PEXIP and Christopher Phillips at Cisco Systems. Thank you to the staff at the Renaissance Funeral Home and Central Baptist Church for the assistance in hosting the celebrations, as well as the Wake Funeral Home and Chapel in Morrisville. I would like to especially thank John for filling in as a person here in Edmonton and making this venue a possibility for us. Rhonda and Alan also wish to give a special note of thanks to Victor Lin, Gregor Adicek, Rebecca Wyndham, and Nitin and Harita Patel. I would like to add my personal note of thanks to Nicole, Darlene, and Victor for helping me organize Edmonton here. And last but not least, I would like to put people's mind at rest who are worried about Peng's cat, Starbuck. Arrangements have been made and Starbuck will come and live with Brian and my family here in Edmonton. And with Rovette's approval, Starbuck is set to fly to Canada at the beginning of August with Alan. We have 2 cats already, and more importantly, we have the Apollo, Peng Starbuck. So hopefully they will get along just fine, and if not, then we may just have to put some Battlestar Galactica on television and remind them that they should be better. You are here in Edmonton, I would like to invite you to join us in the council. It's a fellowship and to continue to share the remarkable person Peng was. And thank you to everyone who came out here in Edmonton and North Carolina. And thank you who joined us from around the world by our conference. And I think we can all agree on one thing, that Peng, we will love you forever. You will stay in our memories, and you've left us way too soon. Thank you so much.
That concludes the service for today. We do have refreshments, and I hope people will stop by and share some more stories or talk to one another about our son Peng and what a great person he was. Thanks again to everybody for coming out. It's been a real pleasure to meet you and to know how well. Thank you so much. Thanks again. For those of you who might like to take home a souvenir, there's these photos all over the place. If you'd like to take one home with you, please don't. Thank you.